The obvious question is, why did it take 11 years?
I'm a man who's known to take his time, Edward, you know? Couldn't write the songs, you know.
Was it really just, did you have a writer's block?
No, it was, no, not at all. It was a situation where I was completely disenchanted with the music business, and the last thing I thought I would ever do again would be to get involved with a record company, make a new record, and unleash it on an unsuspecting public. But things change. I found a fabulous record company, an independent company out of Europe. These are people who actually care about music and are entirely supportive of what I do. I know we have a great team. I have a great muscular musical band. Doug and I are great friends that we inevitably sit down and a conversation will lead to picking an acoustic guitar and say, what do you think of this? So we'd go on, and he was actually really very patient with me because, you know, I didn't have any intentions. I'd worked in the music business for so many years and had my heart broken. You know, you create all of this music, you give it to a record company, and then they really don't do anything with it. So I was very happily out of that stuff. So my intention for when I came back to work was just to play for a couple of months a year in concert. But in the old days, I would work maybe every 3 or 4 years. All my songs stayed fresh. But if you're working annually, some of those songs tend to get a bit hard to, yeah, they get a bit hard to, you know, I found I was having to dig really deep to be able to perform them with a kind of necessary excitement. So I thought, if I'm feeling like this, then I think a lot of my audience is feeling it too. So all of these elements came together and promoted the idea of a new record. And it's already paying off. We just played in Australia and New Zealand. We stuck a bunch of new songs in there, and everything else just was like getting a fresh coat of paint. It was fabulous.
And the first sign, at least to me and a lot of Whitesnake fans, that Whitesnake was back on the right track again was when you put out the Live in the Shadow of the Blues album. Not only the live performances with the band you have on there, but also the studio tracks were very revealing to me when I heard them, because it was the first thing I had heard since the '87 record where I said, DC's got the chemistry back again with stuff like Ready to Rock and Dog and the new studio tracks. So was that almost like a way for you to test the waters a little bit to see if you wanted to go full on back in?
Well, not really. It was just an opportunity. I wish we'd had more time. Time is always a problem nowadays. People want this and they want that, and it takes time to prepare a quality-driven project. So I came back from the 2005 tour, 2006 tour, and I'd made an arrangement with SPV for the live record, but the people I'd left in charge of mixing it hadn't done the best job. So I didn't think I'd be able to deliver on time, so a lot of it was really kind of jamming to make it up fast. I'd love to remix those studio songs. They're very in, context. The way I described it at the time was that these are appetizers for what this became.
Good to be bad, absolutely. You wanted to make a record that appealed to the Whitesnake fans. You didn't want to try to...
I wanted to make a record that appealed to us. That's the first thing you try to do, is to, when I sat down with Doug, I said, let's do an album of music that we want to do without the corporate pressure of the giants that I'd worked with before. Because it's, if you try to make a record that accommodates MTV, you're not being honest to yourself. If you make a record that's trying to accommodate Clear Channel Radio, you're not being honest to yourself. You have to create, and this is an opportunity now for people to do what they want to do, without the dictation of the corporate beast. And the deeper the love, the stronger the emotion, and the stronger the love, the deeper the devotion.
Tell everyone, if you will, exactly who is in the band. Obviously, Doug Aldrich, who really is become your partner and songwriting partner on the record. But
my
the rest
brother,
of the group.
he's Doug Aldrich on guitar, Reb Beach on guitar, Uriah Duffy, great bass player, very, very sexy girls. Timothy Drury on keyboards, formerly worked with the Eagles, and Don Henley and Stevie Nicks. we had to give him some fun in his life. And on drums, we have a new commodity, a chap called Chris Frazier, who I first heard with Steve Vai, and he's fantastic. Whitesnake's got its groove back, boys and girls. Check it out. So give me all your love tonight. Give me all your love tonight. I'll do anything you want. Give me all of your love tonight.
Was this all newly written for this album?
All fresh, yeah. Doug and I, we've got a bunch of songs or whatever, but we've written now in the last 2 years together 15 new slices of Whitesnake rock and roll, and I'm delighted with them. You know, what I've been saying is that if this was the first Whitesnake album, I'd be so excited to be playing every song in concert. If this is, ends up being the last studio record, then I'm very happy for this as an epitaph.
Here in America, you've got, Whitesnake took about 10 years to break here in America, but in Europe and other parts of the world, that was certainly not the case.
Yeah.
So when you play there, you've got all those other albums to try to touch on and incorporate. So have you thought about how you're going to tackle it?
No, but thank you so much for forcing me back to a drink and tranquilizers before I even assemble a set list. No, it's going to be a situation of where hugely important are new songs. There's obviously people are going to be coming, you know, I don't want to disappoint, you know, I'll try to put all of what I would consider the big Whitesnake songs, the very successful Whitesnake songs. But, you know, let me put some of this new stuff in, because those old songs are going to be recharged just by performing, you know, new stuff. I can't do a show for 2 days. It's, you know, I'm limited to 2 hours or whatever, and I can only do so much there. But the bonus is, this is a wealth, it's a treasury of music that I have an opportunity to play. Maybe, if this album does as well as I believe it will, we'll come out and just feature this record.
Who came up with the title of the CD, Good to Be Bad?
Well, it's just, you know, one of the songs. First off, it was going to be called Whitesnake 10. This is the 30th anniversary of Whitesnake, and this is the 10th studio record. So first off, it was going to be Whitesnake 10, which explains...
Right.
And then SPV got in touch with me and said, just check out all of these Google pages of like 10,000 artists with an album called 10. You know? So I looked down the list of the songs, and this is such a Whitesnake title. You know, it ties in with the Slide It In, Ready and Willing, Come and Get It, Good to Be Bad. It's got that innuendo, tongue-in-cheek thing. You know?
Do you have any moments that you can share, maybe from a few of the guitar players that you've worked with over the years that were memorable moments? Or do you feel, maybe here's a better question, do you feel that there's any of them that maybe there was some unfinished business with, that you felt maybe there's some stuff that you would have liked to have done, or it could have been better?
Yeah. You know, for instance, with Richie, who was a huge, I was like his disciple, an acolyte sitting at his feet. You know, the guy, I was a huge Hendrix fan. Richie was the closest thing I came to that style of, that freestyle, incredibly accomplished musician. I'd love to have known more than I did then, because I was a kid. I was in awe and really trying to feel my way around. I'd love to know what I would do now, you know, with this. But I'm the Edith Piaf of rock. I have no regrets, you know. Whatever, it is what it is. I've worked with fantastic musicians, not just guitarists, great drummers, you know, the memory of Cozy Powell. You know, great players, Mel Galley, Adrian Vandenberg, you know. It's the only guitarist I think I haven't worked with who I adore is Jeff Beck.
Yeah. Well, there's still time, right?
No, well, I'm pretty busy now. Sorry, Jeff.